Hello and welcome to Module 2 of DJing for Beginners. In this module we'll be showing you how to set up your turntables, mixer, amplifier and speakers so we can start mixing. Okay, so we'll start by introducing you to some of the equipment we'll be using in this module, and we're going to show you how to connect it all up. We have ground wires from your turntables and ground earth connector on your mixer. We have phono plugs, input sockets on your mixer and output sockets. You're also going to need a set of speakers and an amplifier, although if you are starting off DJing at home you can use any hi-fi with an auxiliary input such as line, mini disc or tape, but we'll talk more about that later. It's very important before you start connecting everything up that you have the power switched off on all your equipment and that you have the volume turned down on your mixer and your amplifier. Now let's look at how we connect up our turntables. First we need to attach the ground wires from the back of the turntables to the ground connector on the back of the mixer. Every mixer has at least one ground connector and you simply unscrew it, attach the wire and screw it back on. And the same for the second turntable. Next we take the phono connectors from each of our turntables and connect them to the phono inputs on the channels on which we want our records to play. Be careful to match red with red and white with white. If you mistakenly connect them to the line inputs on the mixer, your records won't play loud enough. Next we take a phono lead, connect one end to the master output on our mixer and the other end to our amp or hi-fi. Be careful to check what inputs you have on your amp or hi-fi as they vary from model to model. As we said earlier, you can connect your mixer to pretty much any auxiliary or line input, for example tape or mini disc. Before we move on, let's talk a little bit more about our records. We're going to begin by having a look at a record. A record is an analog way of storing and playing back music. Our turntables allow us to access the information on these records, which is our music. MP3s and CDs are examples of music which is played and stored digitally. Every record usually has a continuous groove on each side, which is where the music information is stored. Generally, records will have one or more tunes per side. At the beginning of the record we have a run-in groove, which is designed to catch the needle before the tune starts. At the end of the record we have a run-out groove, so the needle has somewhere to go after the tune finishes. Now that we've all our equipment connected, let's power it all up. Next we make sure that the volume fader on the channel which the turntable is plugged into is turned down before we put the needle on the record. We check the label information to check our speed, whether it's 33 or 45, so in this instance it's 33. We then press start. Next we gently lift the needle and place it on the run-in groove at the start of the record. We then check that we're getting signal on the channel on our mixer before slowly turning up the volume on the fader. Well, we've music through our mixer and our speakers, so everything seems to be working okay. Sometimes you might need to do a bit of troubleshooting if you don't get any sound or the sound's distorted when you connect your equipment together. Common problems would be having your phono leads connected to your line inputs or maybe the earth wire loose at the back of your mixer. It's always a good idea to read the instruction manuals that come with your equipment before you start using it. In this module we showed you how to connect up your turntables, your mixer and your amplifier. In the next module we'll show you how to listen to music and introduce you to beats, bars, rhythms and phrasing.